Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Say What Podcast. My name is Madison Miner, and I'm here with Protect Our Kids. And today on our show, I have a new friend of mine. Her name is Rachelle Babler, and she is from Poway. So Rachelle, welcome to our show, and thank you for being such an amazing parent advocate down in Poway.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here today. So I wanted to bring you on because I feel like it's so important for our followers to not only get the information, gain the knowledge that they can get from going to board meetings, but I think it's also just so inspiring to see what you've done in Poway to help equip and inform and encourage parents to get involved in your city. So why did you start to get involved in Poway, and what kind of ignited that flame underneath you?
Well, I think it started around COVID, and, COVID was kind of a chaotic time, not only for me, but for many families. And we were kind of forced to all be together for our kids to do distance learning. And that really was a time where I got to observe what was being taught to my kids. I'd been involved with the school, through elementary school, just as a volunteer and, getting to know the teachers and just events and things like that. I didn't really get into the weeds of things, but during COVID, when you're hearing teachers actually teach the class, then you're really getting a full bird's eye view of what's being taught to your children. And during that time, there were a couple things that I would hear now and then that would just kind of pique my curiosity as to, why was that shared, or why is this being taught? And so that's kind of really what prompted me to start getting more involved, just getting more curious really about what was being taught to my kids. So that's kind of really what started it. And then as I got more involved, things progressed into me being more of an advocate instead of a participant parent, listening, but from a distance. Then I really went into the roots of being an advocate on the front line.
And you mentioned that there were certain circumstances. Do you have any specific examples that you could give that maybe you kind of saw that warning flag, maybe the yellow flag, maybe the red flag down in Poway?
Yeah. So during COVID and after COVID, when we started going back to school, I kind of felt that parents' voices were not being heard. I had started listening to board meetings, and it felt as almost if the district was distancing themselves from parents, not listening to them, not replying to their emails, not addressing certain issues that were, really valid concerns that we'd had. But there was one incident that really got the needle moving from like 0 to full throttle with my son. And so after COVID and after we had gotten back to school, I started watching more board meetings. And this one parent shared during public comments that her child was taught some inappropriate curriculum. And so she started reading excerpts from a book. And my jaw went to the ground because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And that night I looked in my son's backpack and I found the book that she was reading in his backpack. And that was probably the first time I had felt my parental rights were violated. And it really stems from transparency and really being transparent with parents, because why is it that anything over a PG rated movie has to have permission from a parent? Why is it that kids can't wear clothing with profanity, sexually explicit content, but then a teacher is teaching curriculum with tons of profanity, sexually explicit content, graphic content? And that's when I, emailed the principal, assistant principals, and I had questions and I wanted answers. And the answers I got led me even more to more questions. And really, it didn't really answer why this wasn't transparent to parents. And so I took my concerns to the board, and that was the first time I spoke at a board meeting, I think 2 to 3 years ago, and I've never looked back since. And I've really been in the roots now of being involved with things in the district, because I just felt like that was such a huge violation as a parent and not being transparent as to what they're teaching our kids, especially around content like that.
Yeah, I remember when I was on the school board in Orange, there was an instance where a parent brought to my attention that there was a book that detailed incest and rape of a child by her own dad. And this was a book being taught in an AP English course at one of our high schools. And so not only is this a book available to students that I found incredibly inappropriate, but it was also a forced book that you had to take if you wanted to receive your AP credits, which, you know, when you're in high school, like, yeah, you want to get all of those college credits out of the way so that you could, you know, move in your direction when it came to college, have that course finished, right? And so I was just shocked. I was floored. And I remember writing to the teacher of that class, telling them, why? Why would you choose this book? Of all the books you could have chosen, why this one? And I never did get a reply back, but I just remember feeling similar to how not even as a parent of a student in that class, I remember feeling just so angry and shocked that these teachers made that choice, right?
Yeah. And ours, the one that was taught to my son, was a required English reading class for ninth grade. It was
as well.
So yeah, there's so many to choose from. Why that? And why not tell the parent what's in it? Because, you know, every child is going to react to that content differently. Every family has different family values. Every kid might really have some, especially like the book where somebody's being molested. What if a child in that class is being molested? This is like trauma that's going to come up maybe for a child. And so I just, that was really bothersome to me, that there wasn't transparency around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you were saying resonated with me, because I remember even thinking, you know, is that teacher a certified counselor? Are they a psychologist? Do they have the background skills, the licensing to be able to then counsel and talk the kids through those situations? That seemed incredibly inappropriate and really out of their wheelhouse for these teachers to be, you know, enforcing and expecting the kids to be able to cope with these very big, very deep, very real issues without their parents' knowledge. It blew my mind.
Yeah, and the teacher replied to me when I asked about that. She said that they prep them for certain parts of the book that might be highly charged or whatever, and a child can step outside if they feel uncomfortable. And I thought that was the craziest answer that I had heard.
What child's going to go outside?
What child is going to go outside and single themselves out in front of an entire class because you know, social peers and pressure? And then B, who's outside to support that child if they do feel so uncomfortable? Who's a counselor out there? Is a therapist out there?
Right.
And so that answer in and of itself, I was so floored with. I could not believe that. And I want to make it very clear too to your listeners, like, I've been called a book banner. I've been called all kinds of names. This has nothing to do with a book. This is audio content, video. We've seen video content, any supplemental supporting curriculum, slides, you know, any PowerPoint shows. So it's curriculum to me that's inappropriate. I don't care what format it comes in. It should be very transparent to parents.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you show up at board meetings, you give your first speech because of this book, and now you're working through connections. How did you connect to other parents in Poway and PUSD, and what happened after that?
Yeah, I started during COVID. I started searching online in social media groups to search for Poway Unified School District pages and groups, and I found some, and I found a couple that were advocates for children, and so through that, I started meeting more parents based on like what they were sharing. And then I reached out to some and just direct messaged them and was like, hey, I have these concerns. And through that, I was invited to some in-person parent meetings. And then you kind of get to know I'm sure this is like every district. There's a handful of parents that are going to be at every board meeting and probably speaking out on various topics. And I soon got to learn and get to know who those people were. And through that, I just created connections. And really that's kind of like how PUSD Community Watch was born. It was through those relationships that I'd made and a group of parents coming together saying, okay, it's time to take this to the next level.
That's brilliant. I feel like that's such an amazing tool that you guys created to kind of give parents a place to search. You were saying it took you a while, right, to connect and to make those friendships and those alliances where you were able to kind of work together for the common goal. I love that you made this website. Can you walk us through the creation of PUSD Community Watch, what that looked like, how it started, and what it's like at this point to run it?
Yeah, so like I said, I kept seeing some of the same parents at board meetings. We started connecting more. And there was one person that I'd met, and I don't even know how I met Frank, and you might know Frank Shu with the Californians for Equal Rights Foundation. And he lives in Poway Unified School District. His kids don't attend the schools there, but he's very active in the community. And I met with him, and then I'd meet with him other times with other parents. And he was kind of planting the seed of, really what's going to get things moving is if you start a grassroots organization. And for people that don't know what a grassroots group is, it's really a group of people working together to advocate for a cause in order to create positive change. So he kept saying that. And my mom, single mom, 2 kids, like I'm already working, parenting, coming off of COVID, and thinking of doing that was just overwhelming to me. And I would just kind of laugh and be like, okay, yeah, you can find somebody else for that. And then it dawned on me after board meeting after board meeting after board meeting, nothing was going to change. Nothing was going to change unless the board changed or the community got more involved. So it finally dawned on me it was time to do this. And I met with a couple other parents and we all agreed, yeah, it's time to start this kind of watchdog group. We call ourselves a watchdog group. And so we launched PUSD Community Watch a couple years ago. Well, officially March of 2024. So we've been in existence for over a year, but we really have been advocating for several years since COVID. And that's how it was created. And really our mission is focused on, we're a watchdog group advocating for student success, transparency, and parental rights. And that's really the core of what we're focused on and educating the community on things that we find out about the district.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys sound like modern day Esthers. You're being called by, in this instance, it's a different individual than a bigger one up in the sky, but you're being called to this huge mission. And yeah, other people might step up and do it, but you heard the call and you grasped it. That's amazing that you were willing to do such a difficult thing, especially as a single mom. And that in itself is just incredible that you were able to step into that. And how cool that you had other individuals, other parents that are like-minded, that you were able to kind of link arms and go forward together. So you start this website. Now you're running it. Does it kind of run itself, or does it feel like that's kind of a part-time job as well?
Well, we had some support with building our website through an organization, and we kind of created it. Like we created what we wanted, and we really started from scratch because every district's different and every district has their own things. But I like to say now we've created a model for other grassroots to copy. There's no reason to not copy other people's things, at least what type of things that they have on their website, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that did take a little bit of time to do that and put it together. And we had some support to get us started. But yeah, it was it took some time on all our ends to take pieces and bits and work on different things. But, the thing is that when you are a parent and you obviously want the best for your child, and you want your child to really be taught with the best of intentions. And when you start to learn things and see things and know what's happening, I could not do this. Like there was really no way of not doing it. I had to do it because these were my kids. These are other children. These are, kids that I care about all the kids in the district and hope that they are being provided the things to help them really be successful in life and be good humans. And so it really, even though it was kind of daunting at first, there was no way I could not be a part of it because of what I learned and seen.
Can you describe some of the challenges that you experienced with your grassroots movement?
Yeah, so the biggest one I think was it was just like 4 of us starting this, and we did have some support with other parents who wanted to contribute in some way. But steering a huge ship, and it's kind of you're taking on another job is quite a bit. But we did have support, and we did reach out to people to help support us too. The school district, one big challenge is that the school district is very complex. If you look at, our school district, and like many others, it's like a huge business. There's so many pieces and parts to it. There's finances, there's, learning support services, there's, safety, there's all these different things. So it's a lot to learn and know, and it seems overwhelming. But what I've learned is that, I pick the pieces that I'm very passionate about, and so do the other parents. And then we try to find other people like volunteers or people that can contribute in other ways. And I would say that, in our monthly meetings, we have a good, consistent following of parents who have been very supportive since the beginning. So they have certainly helped us in this. It wasn't just the 4 of us. It was other people contributing what they could as well. And like I said earlier, we started from scratch, but a lot of it's been put together, which I hope then can really help other districts and parents who want to create a grassroots kind of like ours.
Yeah, you made a recipe. You created this recipe for parents to be able to emulate. That's very admirable. I love it. So you have a 501c3. That's what your website is, or your organization is. And you guys meet, you mentioned, on a monthly basis. Now, typically 501c3s are not typically, but legally they're nonpartisan. How, as a nonpartisan group, do you function while still maintaining and advocating for change in Poway?
Well, our objectives and purposes are really to provide factual information. So often I think school districts will share what they think they want the community to hear, but they leave a lot out of it. And it's the stuff that they leave out that we find out about, that we feel that the community should be aware of. And we believe taxpayers and parents should have access to resources so that they can then make the best decisions for their child. So, we have a list of inappropriate books that we feel that might be something that a parent might want to know about. Some parents might think they're appropriate, some might not, but this is where we provide information, and then you can make that decision, for yourself and your family. We just really want to provide pertinent issues of education and how it relates to Poway Unified School District. And we have more than one set of eyes on our emails and newsletters to check for partisan content, because we really do want to bring the community together. And you do that by just presenting facts and the issues that have come out and things that, parents might just not be aware of. Like, there's many parents that don't even know who their trustee is and what area district they live in. We have 5 area districts. We have a very large district in San Diego. And so it's just educating, like, who do you speak to if it's your area? What's their email? Many people have reached us out. I'd like to speak at a board meeting. I don't know how. So we help them, and tell them how to speak out at a board meeting. So, regardless of anything, like, we just really, I think, providing information, not only to parents, but really to taxpayers as well, because we're in a huge budget deficit right now.
Yeah.
And that can eventually affect taxpayers. So, many people will say, well, I don't have kids in the district. Well, wait till that bond measure comes. And you're going to, be affected maybe in some way. So it really is. And it's really, about supporting the community of people and children that are in your community. Who are you living around and with? So, so we just really want to say, our objectives and, again, purpose is to provide factual information to the community and let them make whatever decision they want with it.
Yeah. So you've been an organization now for just over a year. It's like a year and almost 2 months, right?
Uh-huh.
What would you say are some of your biggest successes as an organization?
I would say the biggest is an increased parent and public awareness of PUSD and concerns. People wouldn't know this information unless we were sending it out in emails and a newsletter on social media. And, we'll see many times social media comments or people that message us and they cannot believe that this is really happening in a school district. Myself and another co-founder, we've been guest speakers, panelists at the California for Equal Rights Foundation conference, and we received last year the Parent Advocate Award, which I was incredibly proud of because we've worked really hard, and I feel like we've made a dent in the district, and we're going to continue to do so. Some other things that we've done, one of the co-founders worked with a trustee because one high school was not doing the Pledge of Allegiance every day, so they were able to work together to get this back. One parent reached out and there was controversial and inappropriate math assignment assigned to students, and we reached out to the principal and the assignment was removed from the course. We advocated to get our 3 minutes back of speaking time. They cut it down to 2 minutes last year, and we were not happy about that because 3 minutes isn't really enough. So we were able to advocate for that, and we got that back recently. We've been recognized by many community leaders on our commitment to education, student success, and really community service. And, some of the big things that have happened in our district, like the superintendent scandal that we had recently, where our superintendent was bullying and harassing high school students. And it was all over the news. It was on national news. And we, really tried to support things like that. There's been a couple that have happened in our district where the families and the parents or the teachers or the coaches or whoever, students said, we're so glad that you exist. And I think that is probably one of the biggest, something that we can be really proud of, that we know that we've helped in certain situations, and we've helped to make some changes in the district as well for the better.
Oh, that's awesome. I hear you're talking mostly about parents, and my assumption is more of the conservative side of parents. How has the response been from community, like the district, for example, district office, as well as maybe the community that's a little less conservative in Poway? How have they responded to Community Watch?
That's a good question. I wouldn't really know without asking them. But what I do know is that they know that we are growing and we are a voice, and we're not going to back down. So I think when you have that, and as you grow and get bigger and you're sharing information, I really think, and I hope that it really puts a school district on notice that we're watching. And we keep digging and we keep wanting answers. And if you're not going to give it to us, we're going to find out and we're going to share it with everybody. So, I think it's just more of a, making sure that they're doing what they should be doing.
Holding them accountable.
It really is holding them accountable. And when you go back to our mission, which is really about student success, transparency, and parental rights, I would hope that everybody would want that, that's something, and really our mission goes further into the policies and educational structure that impact students and that are held in accordance with values and ethics and are in compliance with California Ed Code and other state, federal, and constitutional law. So, that is really a big piece of it too, is holding them accountable for those big pieces.
Yeah. Well, and when you have this website and you have this power horse of a website where people can come and learn and see what you're doing, you're working with transparency. You're being transparent with this website. And so how can you encourage, I know you mentioned earlier that anyone can take kind of the general form of your website. Obviously, it'll be different in each school district, but how can you encourage, or what would your advice be to parents in other school districts that maybe are where you were a couple years ago, just starting from scratch, where there's really no connections, there's no advocacy, there's no organization to help inform and create transparency and actually educate students in their own districts? What would you say to them?
Yeah, what I would tell parents who want to get more involved or who want to really make a difference is just to get involved. I mean, it may not be starting a grassroots, maybe it is, but just get involved. And that can mean many things. Get involved in the PTA, see what the PTA is doing, what kind of events are they providing to the school, and things like that. School site council is another one that people aren't even aware of. Go to the board meetings. The board meetings were probably the one thing that really, if you want to say woke me up. Like, I couldn't believe what was being shared at public comments. And just when I thought I'd heard it all, then I hear something else. And I was like, wow, it could floor you and really just awaken you to like what's going on in your school district. If you're already active, or maybe you're not already active, but you just want to make a big difference, you can consider running for school board member, and also creating maybe a grassroots like this. But it really started with just me connecting to people and then having meetings. And then those meetings, more people came, and then we started going to the board meetings and then speaking out. And then we realized this isn't going to work. This isn't going to change anything. We can scream at the top of our lungs or bring, valid arguments to the table, but it really was going to make a bigger impact if we got the community involved and really raised awareness around what was happening in our district. So there's many ways for a parent, even if you're busy working, have kids, all that stuff, to just start asking your teacher, okay, can I have your syllabus? I would like to see what you're teaching my child. And just start getting into their Canva and see what curriculum is being taught to them. And are you okay with it or not? And start asking questions. So, asking questions is probably one of the biggest things that will lead you down into doing more, because that's what it did for me. I just started asking questions.
Amazing what you learn when you ask those questions to the staff and teachers, right?
Yeah.
So
and I just really was curious because, like, I don't understand this. This makes absolutely no sense to me. So can you explain this to me? And the more they did, the more I was like, okay.
I'm glad I asked. So what do you see for the future of PUSD Community Watch? What's next? What do you see long term for your organization?
Well, what I see long term is that our district is held accountable, again, to be in compliance with California Ed Code's state, federal, and constitutional law. That's probably the things that I've seen the most that I feel have been violated. And so I'm hoping long-term vision that I see them in compliance with all of that. I think that's not something, I think that's a fair thing to ask for. It's not being unreasonable. And, I want to see our students succeed. Our scores aren't the best. And it's really sad to see these kids struggling. And I'm not saying, and I want to put this out there, there are many good teachers. I've come across many, many, many great teachers. But I think it's what's kind of district-wide that's being pushed on curriculum or teachings or standards that has really been affecting these kids, on top of post-COVID, social media, just all the other pressures that they have. So, I really would love to see, the focus being more on education and how we can help these kids, and not just really get their grades better. It's like, let's just help them feel like they are supported, in their classes. And transparency is a big one for me. That's probably the one that I advocate for the most, and also parental rights. I think that we have a right to know certain things, and we have a right to make decisions around our kids, especially things around sexuality and, certain content. So that's what I'd like to see long-term for our group.
And not all of our followers are from Poway, but I think viewing your website and seeing what it entails, and also for anyone that's listening and watching right now that is from Poway, where can they go? What's your website address so that they can go to it and actually explore and search around and see what it is that you guys have created?
Yeah, so you can go to pusdcommunitywatch.org. And on there, you'll see resources. And some of this stuff is common within other districts. You'll see certain things. It's just, as far as like resources and curriculum and things that we found, it may be common in other districts. But if you want to subscribe to our emails, you can subscribe under About Us, and also under About Us or About, you can reach out to us if you need anything. One great thing that we put on our website, which has been very instrumental in helping us, is a submit a tip line. So we have a submit a tip line where you can submit something anonymously, and if it's something that you have, curriculum, a homework assignment, you can upload it and we can review it and address as needed. So we always encourage parents to try to advocate for themselves, to reach out to the teacher, start asking questions. If it doesn't get anywhere, then you can go to the principal, you can go to your board rep. We always try to encourage people to really try themselves to do it, but a lot of people are afraid, and the fear of retaliation is real and alive in our district and in other districts. And so, we try to encourage other people to really try to do things themselves, but we're obviously here to support if people feel like they can't.
My name is Madison Miner. I'm with POK's Say What podcast, and we have a website that I would love for you to go visit, pok.org. My email address is madison@pok.org, and I would love to hear from you. Send any tips, any information that you're seeing in and around your schools that is not protecting your kids. Let's put it out there. Let's make sure we're holding accountable those in charge, those leaders that are not doing the right job for our children. Please visit our YouTube, our Say What podcast. We've got YouTube videos with great information that you can go to and visit so that you can equip yourself to be able to be informed and educated in regards to your students' education. We also have Instagram. We have an X account. So go follow those, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.